Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Gauri Dwivedi, and with me in the studios is Vishnu Som, and we'll talk about how historic a day it is for Indian Navy. Vishnu, you've been at these stealth ships, these fighter ships. Talk more about the significance of the commissioning of these two frigates and why it's such an important day.
Well, these warships are fantastic. We were on the INS Himgiri, or the Himgiri and the Udaygiri, just a couple of days back, and we've had lots of our reports out over the last several hours. This is coming from the images on your screen from the Sirkar jetty in Visakhapatnam, Eastern Naval Command. What's going to happen in a little while from now, and I'll talk about the ships in a while, but the Chief of Naval Staff will be arriving at about 2:55 p.m. Admiral Dinesh Tripathi. Then the Defence Minister arrives at 3 p.m., which should be any time soon. It's 2:55 now, so we should see the Navy Chief arriving. You can see him over there. That will be followed by the Defence Minister. There will be a guard of honour. The Defence Minister is then introduced to heads of department, in other words, officers and department regulators, in other words, senior most sailors on board the two warships. And then there's going to be an address by the Navy Chief, reading of commissioning warrants by the commanding officers of both the ships. One of the officers is a Commodore, Vikas Sood, and the other one is a captain. And the Udaygiri and the Himgiri would then, the process of actually commissioning them into service would take place. There'd be a colour or nishan ceremony where the national flag and the naval ensign are hoisted, and the commissioning pendant is broken or unfurled for the first time. It is, visually symbolic of a ship being commissioned with the flag and the naval ensign being hoisted. So that's going to be the rough sequence of events. We will see the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh make a speech, and there'll be an exchange of mementos as well. I think what's interesting is that, remember, Gauri, that the Himgiri and the Udaygiri are a class of 7 warships. These names, as per naval tradition, have been repeated. So these aren't the first ships to bear the name Udaygiri or Himgiri. We've had a Himgiri in the past, we've had a Udaygiri in the past, a Taragiri in the past, a Nilgiri in the past, a Dunagiri in the past. And these names are being repeated as the Indian Navy progressively inducts the new ships of this class. The class itself is called Project 17A. You can see the warships on the right-hand side of your screen. The ship to the left is the Himgiri. The ship to the right, over there in that last image, was the Udaygiri. This is the Udaygiri on your screen, and that's the Himgiri on your screen. Fantastic warships. We've had a chance of really checking them out. And I think the point I was trying to make is that the commanding officers of the old class of the ships, of the Himgiri and the Udaygiri, they're going to be present as well. So it's a time or an opportunity for the old veterans to actually get a chance to take a look at the new ships. Let's remove the images of Shiv and me, and let's go back to images, please, of the ship, of the ships, 2 of them. Fantastic warships, 6,700 tons each. They have the BrahMos anti-ship missile, which flies out to a range of more than 300 kilometers. They've got the Barak 8 medium-range surface-to-air missile, which is designed to take out a whole host of targets, whether they're incoming cruise missiles or anti-ship missiles, which may be supersonic. Then there's the 76 millimeter SRGM, which you see on your screen, or that's the primary gun. It's a super rapid gun mount, SRGM. It can take out all sorts of targets, including targets out at land. It can also take out incoming drones, which may be in the air or on the sea as well. The structure that you see on your screen is the MF Star radar. It sort of looks like a Christmas tree atop the superstructure of the ship. It's an Israeli-designed radar, detects targets out in the air and on the sea as well, at very robust ranges of several hundred kilometers. The round structures that you see there on the screen briefly were the RBU 6000 anti-ship rockets, anti-submarine rockets, used to take out incoming enemy threats. And there's another radar you see on your screen just behind this MF Star, which I spoke about. That's called the Indra Lanza radar. It's a Spanish company which has entered into a tie-up with the Tatas over here, and they're manufacturing a radar called the Lanza, which is quite formidable, and it is a secondary radar. So it's a great day for the Indian Navy for a couple of reasons. I think the big reason is India now has the ability to commission ships at a relatively fast pace. Now, this has been a problem in the past when we used to commission one odd ship every year. But to have 2 frigates to be commissioned simultaneously on the same day, and several other ships and submarines being commissioned the same year, gives you an idea of the pace at which India has reached maturity in the process of warship manufacture. Now, these warships have been constructed to what is called a modular standard. In other words, while the keel is the backbone of a warship, and in the past you used to build up from the keel of the ship, they've now got modular construction. So while there is a keel, there are different segments of the warship which are constructed in different parts of the country if required. And then they're all brought together and then they are assembled together. So the process and the speed of constructing warships is a lot more efficient. Corey?
Indeed. You've put that out in great detail for us to understand the significance of this event. Viewers, what we are seeing are those visuals of commissioning of 2 ships. As Vishnu was pointing out, there are 2 of these frigates that are being commissioned simultaneously, indicating the ability, the intent in terms of our manufacturing capabilities that have seen a huge boost, and also our commitment, Indian Navy's commitment in terms of really increasing its stealth capabilities. Vishnu, you mentioned about the capabilities of these 2 frigates. Tell that to our viewers in detail. What are really the stealth capabilities of these 2 frigates that we are talking about?
I'll certainly answer that, Gauri, but I should also mention to our viewers that the ships are presently called Udaygiri and Himgiri. They're not called INS Udaygiri or INS Himgiri. It's only once the ceremony is over and that they're formally commissioned by the Defence Minister, once the colour or the Nishan ceremony, where you see the hoisting of the national flag and the naval ensign, and the commissioning pendant being broken, it's only then that they become INS Udaygiri or Indian naval ship and INS Himgiri. So that's just a process, but the Navy is steeped in tradition. But if you are talking about capabilities, this is a warship which is multi-role. It has the ability of taking on subsurface threats, in other words, from underwater drones, because that too is a reality, submarines. You can have it take on incoming missiles, whether they are cruise missiles, anti-ship missiles, subsonic, supersonic. It uses the Barak 8 medium-range surface-to-air missile system, of which it carries 32 to take out those threats. It carries the BrahMos missile. That's a very heavy missile. It did incredible work during Op Sindoor. On those occasions, they weren't launched by the Indian Navy, though the Indian Navy was on hot standby for any action or any orders which came their way. Those were launched by the Sukhoi 30 fighters of the Indian Air Force. And it's got the SRGM, or the Super Rapid Gun Mount, which you see just behind us in the image to the right. And that takes out targets on the ground if the ship is close enough to the surface. It provides the ability of the ship to suppress targets or on the ground. It can take out very drones in the air, aircraft in the air, and targets out at sea as well. On the left hand side you see the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. Let's listen in.
That is Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh arriving at that ceremony, and
he's going to be taking the guard of honor now. He's going to be accepting the salute over there. There'll be a naval band which plays. We'll have the audio back up in a moment from now, and he'll be inspecting this guard of honor as he walks through. It's raining over there in Visakhapatnam, so this is not out in the open. It's under that tent that you can see. INS Sirkars is the jetty, in Visakhapatnam, a part of the Eastern Naval Command, which is a huge part of the Indian Navy. The facilities of the Navy in Visakhapatnam, truly incredible. So what happens after this, in terms of the sequence of events, this is the Guard of Honor. You'll see the Defence Minister addressing everybody, and we'll listen in to what Rajnath Singh has to say. So all of this taking place on a day when India has inducted 2 of these warships. The prices, the costs of these warships, Gauri is an economics student. She likes to know about costs. You are looking at above $500 million a warship. You know, I mean, while India strives to bring down the cost of these warships, I think it's important to remember that Make in India is not necessarily cheaper. It just isn't. And there are good economic reasons to, you know, to explain that. There is no, there's not necessarily been an ecosystem in terms of MSMEs and other industries which manufacture components at this highest level. And for them to achieve an economy of scale means that several warships have to be built at the same time over a period of years. Very often that's not been the case in the past, which is why the costs of these ships remain, you know, fairly high. What's more, they include, in as much as we speak about aatmanirbharta, they are an integration of weapon systems and sensors and engines from different parts of the world. So you've got American engines, the gas turbines which are manufactured by Lockheed Martin, LM2500 engines. You've got an Indra Lanza radar which is now built under license by the Tatas in India. You've got an MF Star radar which also is under license, but it's an Israeli design. You've got the Barak 8 missile, which is an Israeli design manufactured by a company called Rafael, not to be misunderstood with Rafale. That's a French fighter. You've got an Italian gun, an Otto Melara gun. They've got that upgraded this time around. And of course, you've got the Indian BrahMos, which itself is, BrahMos stands for Brahmaputra, BRAH, and Moskva, that both rivers. It's of Russian origin, but now hugely you know, modified and adopted by the Indian forces. We can call that Indian out and out. But then I think the great task of the Indian Navy and our engineers is in integrating all of these systems. The steel of these warships is 100% Indian. The design is 100% Indian. The combat management system is 100% Indian. The full integration of all of these systems is Indian. The design of the warship is critical for our requirements. It's not a design which we picked up of somewhere in the world and then adopted it for an Indian use. In fact, we've got this warship exactly the way that we want it, and that's what makes this incredibly special. It can fire torpedoes as well. I didn't mention that earlier on, to take out submarine threats. But it's, you know, this evolution of Indian naval design, and, you know, it's CAD-CAM designs, 3D designs, and what you see on the left-hand side, briefly what you saw was the combat room, the nerve center of the ship, where all operations, when the ship goes into war, actually take place. So that gives you a small sense of these wonderful ships. The live induction now taking place.
Indeed, live induction taking place. Viewers, if you're tuning in right now, on the right-hand side of the screen is where you see exclusive access to NDTV. Vishnu Som and Shivarur were there in Visakhapatnam ahead of the live induction, which is taking place today. This marks an extremely important milestone for the Indian Navy. And as Vishnu was pointing out, the significance of 2 frigates being inducted simultaneously is indicative of the future roadmap in terms of the manufacturing capabilities for India. Yes, there is still road to cover up, but at the same time, it also indicates that Atmanirbhar Bharat, or indigenous defense manufacturing, which has been a huge priority for India, is getting a big fillip with this induction happening. And in fact, Vishnu, there's yet another important update that we are getting, which is that this commissioning also marks the 100th warship designed by the Navy's in-house Warship Design Bureau. That's an important milestone as well.
Yeah, no, it is important, and let's have some images on the right-hand side of the ship itself, so that our viewers can actually get a lot more of that. It is an important day because, you know, these are our Indian Navy designers are a key part of, you know, I mean, ensuring that the Navy gets the ships that we want. This is all built to an Indian design. And I think that is absolutely critical. Because without that, again, you'd be into this out-and-out import type scenario, which is what we want to avoid. So yes, there are various foreign components, or I mean licensed manufactured mostly in India, but the integration is Indian, the steel is Indian, several other components are Indian as well. And there's an expertise in integrating and putting this all together to that Indian design. I think what's also special is the fact that this ship, 7 of these ships are being built at Mazgaon docks and at Garden Reach. So some are being built in Garden Reach, in Kolkata, others are being built in Mazgaon docks. Now, one of the commanding officers told us, and we'll have that entire interview play out on Left, Right and Center at 10 p.m. tonight, is that if you went to Himgiri and you went to Udaygiri, they are absolutely identical. I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference inside or outside. And the reason why this is significant is because the quality of manufacture is absolutely identical and is to that standard where you're able to replicate a design. Now, this is not putting together a car. There are millions of components over here, which is why the manufacture of these ships to a consistent standard, something which has been a problem in the past, not just here but elsewhere as well, is something which has been improved upon, has been worked on. So the names are different. There may be a couple of aesthetic differences which are different between the Udaygiri and the Himgiri, but otherwise the ships are absolutely identical, and that's what makes it important that shipyards separated by peninsular India are able to actually construct at the scale and with the precision that they actually do.
Indeed. And another very important aspect of the proceedings that are taking place today, the live induction that is happening right now, and on your screens what you are seeing is the exclusive access that NDTV had of these 2 frigates ahead of the live induction that is taking place right now. So as we've been saying, this is significant simply because this is historic. There are 2 frigates being commissioned simultaneously, and as Vishnu was pointing out, there's an entire protocol in place before they actually become INS Udaygiri and INS Himgiri, and that is likely to pan out over the course of time, and that is when they will be named INS. But right now they are Himgiri and Udaygiri, and one being manufactured out of MDL, Mazgaon Dock shipbuilders, and the other identical but was constructed by Garden Reach shipbuilders out of Kolkata. Now, Vishnu, when you talk about the significance of this, let's also understand in terms of what this signifies from a roadmap for the Indian Navy going forward. As you mentioned, it takes time for commissioning to happen, and that to 2 warships simultaneously. But this also comes at a time when there's a greater intent to not just modernize but also increase the pace of modernization for the Indian Navy as well. And I think that's extremely significant as well.